Welcome back to the Courage Sessions. My name is Enrique Hasso. I'm the Associate Director of the Texas Health Education Service in the TMDSS office here in Austin, Texas. And we're very pleased to have some very special guests joining us all the way from the Texas Panhandle up in Lubbock. The Texas Tech University Health Sciences Center School of Medicine staff, Dr. Felix Morales, and also staff from the Texas Tech University helping us to share some information about a brand new program that's a joint initiative about for their medicine and engineering program. So you all know Dr. Morales, who's joined us for previous Courage sessions. So I'm going to hand it off for him to introduce the team.
Well, thank you, Enrique, for having us here this afternoon. We're very excited about this program that we're just launching this year. I'd like to introduce the rest of the crew that's with me here this afternoon. I have Dean Sacco. He is the Dean of the College of Engineering here at Texas Tech University. I have Brandon Weeks, who is the advisor for the bioengineering program there as well. And I have Mr. Luis Perez. He is the Associate Director of our Office of Admissions here at Texas Tech University Health Sciences Center School of Medicine.
Thank you so much. Well, welcome to you all. And of course, as we've kind of offered a little spoiler for what we're here to talk about, there's a brand new program. Would you mind telling us a little bit more about it?
Yes. And so we have a new joint dual degree program with the College of Engineering as a partner here with our medical school. We're very excited about the program. The dual degree program is called the MD and E program, the Medicine and Engineering program. It's a program designed to help those students who have an engineering background or an applied science background pursue both interests, that in regards to one, becoming a physician, but also continuing on their education in engineering with the ability to attain a master's of bioengineering at the completion of their medical degree program as well. It's very exciting. We are very excited to say that we actually have one student from this last year's matriculating class that's going to be basically our test pilot for the program, and she's starting this August, and very, very excited about the program.
Great. And Dean Sacco, can you share a little bit more about what the program looks like on your end?
Yeah, we're excited about it because, I mean, it's no secret to everyone. We're going into the digital age, right? When we all have our phones and we use them for everything. We ask Mr. Google questions, all sorts of things. What oftentimes, if you're not in computational thinking and you don't have the big data and data visualization background, you don't understand the answers you get are not always correct. So one of the things when physicians diagnose disease, they use a lot of big data. And so the idea was they need to understand where the algorithms will come from so they can more effectively use them. And so, and that's robotics. And I had a background also in telemedicine, spent 32 days of my life in orbit. So I was depending on physicians that did everything from air to ground. And I got to realize that you really need physicians to be very competent in understanding the engineering systems that they have to use in order to deliver rural medicine or medicine at a distance. And it's going to become more and more frequent. So I think it's just an awesome opportunity for us to start this program. And eventually, I think what's going to happen, I think you're going to see it nationally and internationally, is engineering principles are going to be integrated across the medical curriculum in general. It's just going to be the part of the way a physician is trained in the future. And this is sort of the test pilot, as Felix meant before. These are the tests that we're beginning, and we're actually excited about the students because we're going to interact with them a lot as they pursue their dual degree and say, hey, what do you think we could introduce this kind of principle into this course, into your existing courses, so that we can train the physicians and train the engineers to make a better physician overall. So, I mean, it's exciting. It's the future of medicine, in my opinion.
Absolutely. And we're already, starting to hear a lot more about how engineering and medicine's lines are becoming a little bit more blurred. So being able to provide that type of training while students are in medical school and medical education is going to give them a huge leg up. And I think that's a great segue to talk a little bit more about curriculum. So what does this curriculum look like, and how does it differ or overlap with a typical medical school curriculum?
So
Go ahead.
I'll go ahead and start, and then I'll let our engineering partners jump in. So essentially, it's from our standpoint of the medical school, as Dean Sacco was talking about, we're very excited about the partnership because we're actually going to start adopting engineering principles, not only for this specific dual degree program, but we're going to sprinkle that throughout the curriculum as well. We're going to adopt some of these engineering principles and how we teach just regular medical students who aren't a part of this dual degree program. But in regards to how it's structured, students who obviously will still matriculate into medical school, and then they're going to have the ability to take some master's classes throughout the time they're students, and they're going to actually have some time in between the summers, between years 1 and 2 specifically, to be able to complete some of the engineering background and projects and things like that. And then as they enter their clerkship years and go into their 4th year of medical school, they'll have more ability to more leeway there to be able to handle some of that coursework as well. But I'll let Brandon and Dean Sacco talk about that too.
Brandon,
no, I'm fine. So the program's built around bioengineering at Texas Tech, and the idea is to really embed the medical students with faculty within engineering and also cross-disciplinary at their hospital. We do offer some classes by distance, so students that are located remotely can still do coursework, but eventually, they do have to come to campus to get involved in the research, and that's what Dr. Morales was talking about over summers. We've introduced big data, as Dean Sacco already mentioned, and so you will have to do a class in computer science and 1 class in advanced math. And then the rest of the credits are really multidisciplinary. It depends on the student's wants and needs. We do count approximately, and it depends on the background and what they want to do, 6 hours from the medical program to this degree. And the rest will be research. And from my vision, and I think most of them share the same, it's not meant to just be a quick, do a little bit of research and get your degree. We really want to expand this through the whole medical program. And even further on, we'd really like for students to focus on some of the big data, be it robotics, and then use it in practice in the future and help improve both on the medical side and on the engineering side. We don't talk about that enough. I think that the work and the education in the medical side can also help the engineers here.
Excellent, thank you. And we do have a link that we'd like to share with you all here that kind of shows the different courses that are involved in the curriculum. And we're sharing that here on the TXHES page where you're watching us live. And just as a reminder, this is a courage session. So if you have any questions, we do welcome them. We've got a full team here that's ready to address your questions about this program. And we'll stick around as long as you have questions about the new medicine and engineering program at Texas Tech University Health Sciences Center / Texas Tech University. Well, now that we've learned about the curriculum and just how it integrates, big data and learning more about, how this has been blended together, taking a closer look at the medical side, how would this new medicine and engineering program impact, residency placement?
I think in the future, I think there's going to be a huge shift towards these types of programs. And I think these students who eventually will go through there, are going to look, I think, more attractive to residency programs, specifically those who are more research-based. As many medical students are beginning to find out, applying to residency and getting into residency programs is becoming more difficult. And so the more you have in regards to research underneath your belt, whether it be this type of engineering or other types of research, is only going to enhance those students' ability to get into these programs. I think specifically, as Dean Sacco and Brandon were talking about the big data, I mean, that could stretch to all sorts of fields of medicine. I think the misconception would be maybe focusing in on like an orthopedics or general surgery type of programs. I really do even see this being filtered to all sorts of fields, even for us specifically here at Texas Tech. Our emphasis is rural health, and as Dean Sacco was talking about telemedicine, I really do think that this has a potential to even help our rural physicians in the future, and those specifically wanting to go into primary care as well.
It's fully applicable across the board. This is great. So we do have a question. Somebody came in late and they're asking, is this the same as the MD degree? So I think they're kind of asking, how is it the same? What similarities are there?
Yes, so essentially, you'll get both. And so there's obviously requirements that students have to, attain before they graduate with the MD degree. But at the end of it all, the nice thing about this program is the fact that it all is going to be within the framework of 4 years. So upon completion of this specific program, you'll have your MD, and you will also have a Master's of Bioengineering from Texas Tech University.
Excellent. And we have a follow-up question now that we're kind of getting into what the admissions process looks like, but what type of applicant is this program looking for?
From my perspective, we're just looking at someone that recognizes the future of medicine and where it's going to go. And I think it'd be very difficult to not understand that everything's being digitized and it's much more efficient that way, and you can serve a lot more of your constituencies, but you need to understand what's behind all that stuff. So from my perspective, anyone, obviously you have an engineering background, you've got a leg up on this, or a STEM background, it's a leg up on this, but I don't think it should be limited to that at all. And I think that we can bring them up to speed in whatever area that they're in. It shouldn't be difficult.
I think from the perspective of just applying to medical school, one of the things that we're going to hopefully emphasize too is, if they don't have that engineering background, that, it's not a negative. When we talk to our partners across the street, the College of Engineering, they're acceptable to making sure that the students who aren't from this STEM background, that they're able to at least catch up with some of the mathematics portions of things that they might need as they get into their engineering portion of the training.
Do you mind if we dig into that a little bit more? I know a lot of applicants out there are just like, well, I took statistics. Is that good enough? But I know that y'all are probably looking for a little more academic rigor to be able to handle the types of, mathematical requirements, probably.
Yeah.
In these conversations, I'll let them answer. I think, more advanced math would be recommended if we can, but I'll let our engineers.
Yeah, and if it was happened to be statistics, that's the basis of what we call computational thinking, but they're still going to have to take a course in computational thinking of big data, as we often describe it, to understand how to use those statistics from a computer's point of view, not from a human's point of view, how these things are constructed and what it really does. And we do require, as Brandon said, an advanced math course, as well as this computational thinking of big data courses we're recommending for everyone, because that's sort of a backbone upon which we're going to build everything else. So.
Yeah, I'd just share that, the main expectations coming into the program is we expect people to have a year of chemistry, which I think most medical students would have anyways, a year of calculus-based physics, and where the hang up is really math. We need almost 2 full years of math from calculus through differential equations. However, that does not exclude you. And I think the current student that we have, we've been able to work with and make sure that they're comfortable with the math that they're gonna have to come into. The main thing that we want is for students to be successful. And the sticking point is usually the mathematics. So we'll work with you if we need to do some remedial courses. One of the students had contacted me and we recommend that they took differential equations. And I believe they're going to try that before they apply, or one of the potential students that wanted to apply.
Thank you. We have a follow-up question from one of our folks viewing. For someone who's applied this cycle and completed the secondary application for Texas Tech, is it possible to update with the interest for this program?
Answer is yes. I'm gonna let Luis Perez answer that question.
Yeah. Dr. Morales, you're right. Yeah, the answer is yes to that question. So the ideal situation here would be if you know going into the application to go ahead and mark that on your TMDSAS application prior to submitting. But if you can't, you've already submitted, like this case here, contact TMDSAS, let them know that you would now want to apply to the MD&E program at Texas Tech University Health Sciences Center, and they can update your application. Now, beware or be warned at least that we also have a secondary application. And in that secondary application, you will need to complete some supplemental questions for the MD&E program. For example, one of the question that we have in there asks, if you're applying to the MD&E program, if you say yes, then you'll be provided with those supplemental questions. Now, if you've already finished your secondary and submitted that, then you'll need to contact us so then we can possibly open up that application for you. I hope I'm not opening up a can of worms here, because then we have a bunch of people open up their applications. But we really want these supplemental questions to be completed for everybody so that the folks over at the College of Engineering have something to go off of when they conduct that third interview, which may open up some other questions. If anybody has questions about the interview process, we can talk about that too.
I think we should go ahead and address it since we're there.
All right. So when you apply, obviously, you've got the processing time and everything. And then once we get your application, so this is after your application has been transmitted to the schools, it'll take about 2 to 3 business days before we send you that secondary invite. You'll get that in an email address. It's the email that you provided in your application. Once you get that, you'll complete the secondary. And if you're invited for an interview, if you've applied to the MD&E program, everybody who comes to interview with us gets 2 20-minute one-on-one interviews, and all interviews are virtual this year, so they're done on Zoom, just like this here. Also, in addition to that, you'll get the MD&E, you'll get the engineering part of that interview as well. Most likely it might be Brandon here who's actually delivering that interview. It may be somebody else from the College of Engineering at some point in the cycle, but you'll sit down with them for a 20-minute interview, one-on-one, to answer questions specifically about your fit for the engineering side of the joint program.
Excellent, thank you. Well, we went straight into what it looks like to apply to this program. So let's go ahead and round out this section, and then we can come back to the opportunities and just the big ideas about the program. So let's talk about the ideal candidate or the person for whom this program was created, or the group of people who might be really passionate about this program. How can they really show in their application that they are a good fit? This is something that Luis just mentioned as part of the interviews, and there are several additional questions throughout the secondary application. What is it that the program is looking for as a good fit for this program?
Again, at least from my perspective, what I look for I look for someone with a passion for not what medicine is now, but what it's likely to evolve into, and wants to be part of that evolution and that transition. The rest of the stuff we can make up. If you have that passion, it's not a problem. So what do you really think a physician of the future looks like? Why do you think that you'd be interested in this program? Why do you think you're a good fit for this program? Versus just going through a standard medical education that doesn't have this, which is a great education, but it may not be the future of medicine. And in fact, in my opinion, it won't be the future of medicine. But nevertheless, you need to sort of buy into that idea, and then be willing to put the time in. It is going to be rigorous, as your medical studies are rigorous. But what it's going to do is going to open up so many possibilities for you, in my estimation. First of all, even in diagnosis, when you send a series of tests out and you get things back, you need to know the variance of that. You need to know, it might be this, but the probability it could be other things depending on activities. And when you know the way, that's what we call computational thinking. When you know the way this is done, then you have a better physical appreciation for what that data that comes back to you really says, as opposed to what it seems to say. You know, and the more you understand that, the better physician you're going to be in your day-to-day activities. That's just one small example. And a personal note, I ran into that. I got a great physician, Dartmouth trained physician, great. And when he was diagnosing something that was odd, I asked him some of those questions, and he looked at me like, I'm not really sure, but you know, but we together we worked at it, me and him, and it turned out what was originally the high probability of a diagnosis for something turned out to be not the case. And it was because of my understanding and my telling him and him saying, oh, I didn't think about that, and him going back in and searching other things that we ended up coming up with the right one. And so that's when I sort of, one of the ideas that I get excited about this, because if we can train all of you to do that, you know, there's going to be some people that don't, most people that you work with that don't have that background. So they're not going to be able to ask you those questions. And you know, you need to be able to know enough about the way these things are constructed to ask yourself that question when that data comes back.
I think from the standpoint of the medical school, and I love the word passion that Dean Sacco is using, because we definitely are looking, just in general, when people apply to medical school, we are really searching for those who are passionate about learning. And you know, obviously, this is going to be a very rigorous degree program. We're not going to sit here and sugarcoat that at all. So you had to be really passionate about learning, and particularly those engineering principles are going to be peppered in, not only in your master's program, but also within just the context of the curriculum that we're kind of redesigning here at Texas Tech School of Medicine. But also too, when we look at applicants from the screening standpoint, we look at everything holistically. We love using that word, but we truly are, you truly use that holistic approach to looking at applicants. And we are really also not beyond just being passionate about learning, passionate about serving others. Do we get a good sense of determination? Are you going to be a determined person to make sure that you're going to be able to, handle the task of the rigor of the medical school curriculum, the rigor of the master's of the bioengineering program? So passion and determination are two big key indicators on how we go about evaluating someone.
Thank you. So what kind of support would students in this program expect from both institutions? Are there any facilities that are dedicated to this, workrooms, something along those lines?
From the go ahead, Dean.
Yeah, just from the engineering side, and Brandon, you can back me up on this. We're going to integrate you into real research groups. So you're going to be part of state-of-the-art research activities. I mean, this is not playing at engineering science. This is being part of it. And you'll be integrated right into ongoing research groups in the particular area that you choose, that you customize for yourself. And you'll be working with people that dedicate their lives to getting a PhD in a certain area, that are very, very good at it. And you'll just be integrated into those research groups. And those facilities are state-of-the-art, world class.
And from the medical school standpoint, we have brand new facilities, very proud of our brand new 20,000 square foot gross anatomy lab and all the new facilities. I mean, just the other day, I had an opportunity to go walk over there and speak to some first year students, and I'm just amazed at the technology that's provided for the students here. So there's not going to be any sort of deficits in technology, but also just from the emotional standpoint, our School of Medicine, College of Engineering, I think are going to do a great job in regards to making sure that these students are supported, that if there's any sort of concerns, that we're here to help them out. I always say that, if you get accepted to any medical school degree program, there's going to be a tremendous amount of resources available for you to be successful. And so we're very, very proud of that.
Thank you. And we've got a link here that we're sharing in our chat here at the TXHES page for you to check out. And it includes some information about those lab facilities that Dr. Morales is talking about. The Institute of Anatomical Sciences. Thank you. Sorry. So part of the mission of the Texas Tech University Health Science Center School of Medicine is to work to meet the growing needs of a diverse and largely rural patient population. So I think it's pretty clear why having medicine and engineering coming together to address these type of needs in a largely rural setting is pretty clear. But can you all share the perspective of how this new program is helping to address the needs, not just of rural settings in the Panhandle, but medicine overall in general in the region and throughout the state?
So, I mean, so if there's anything that the pandemic has shown us over this last, couple of years, is the fact that how much technology is going to be in the forefront of patient care. And I think, staying in front of that is going to be so important and critical in how we go about training the future generation of physicians. And so whether it be telemedicine, whether it be computational big data, these are things that we're going to definitely want to make sure our students are front of. And whether that be, how you go about, practicing medicine in small rural Freona, Texas, a town of 3,800 people, to working in a big city like Dallas, Texas. It's still going to be, you're still going to have these kind of principles embedded in your training in order for you to be successful in the future.
I would agree 100% with Felix. I mean, basically, I look at it as a continuum, and sometimes people who have expertise in Freona that they don't have in Dallas. But using telemedicine, they can share that, so everybody gets the best of the best. But you have to be able to understand it from both ends in order to be able to utilize it. You just don't want to be a technician, that just goes through a series of steps. That's not what we need. We need someone that actually understands exactly what's coming on, and understands both the strengths and the limitations of what that technology allows you to do and what that data tells you about. And that's what this program is all about. And that's why many medical schools are beginning to look at that. But I like to think we're at the leading edge of some of this.
And I'm glad you brought that up, because there are other medical schools even in the state that have similar programs, but this is very a different flavor altogether, just by nature of the partnership with the two schools there. Do you happen to be able to speak on just what it is that sets this program apart from other programs, within the state and even nationwide?
Yeah, well, from my perspective as the Dean of Engineering, it's all about people, right? In the end, it's all about people. We have great partners in the medical school, and we all sort of have spent actually 2 years talking about this, thinking about it, coming up with how we're going to get it through the medical boards, how we're going to do this, all the kind of questions that you talked about, with a dogged determination that that engineering is going to be a big part of training the physicians of the future. This is just step one. This is the first building block as we begin to sprinkle this and integrate across the curriculum. And in a way, these students are going to be our test pilots. They're going to tell us what worked, what didn't work. In my anatomy class, we really need to know more about stress-strain relationships that we learned in this class, because then we don't have to just depend on taking optical samples to look at whether a tissue is diseased. We can just look at a stress-strain curve. It's much better than a trained eye because it doesn't make a mistake. It doesn't depend on what. So there's a lot of ways that we can integrate this, and this is going to be an evolving process. As technology evolves very quickly, all these principles are going to continuously evolve, and the curriculums in the future of engineering and medicine are going to come together in a very interesting way. We're also hoping, at least I'm hoping, and I've talked to a lot of industrial folks, and they're hoping that these physicians that will be trained with engineering principles will be able to tell them how to make better equipment to support the physician than ever before, because they'll suddenly understand both sides of it. It won't be trying to describe what they go through on a daily basis and and have an engineer say, well, I think they mean this, and try to develop something. Instead, it will come from the actual user, what they need. And maybe even these young physicians will be the inventors of the medical equipment of the future, because they'll understand both ends of it, and they'll be able to really develop things that are much more focused in what they actually need, rather than try to explain it to someone. They'll have lived it, and they'll know what it's like.
I was going to put Dr. Morales on the spot, because as a physician, I'm sure you've seen just this transformation in medicine where you're seeing technology integrated, where you have tools now that you didn't have 5 years ago. And so surely, you know, what we're calling medicine and engineering today might just be medicine in 5, 10 years. And so this is kind of a moving target type of program.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and you know, for me personally, you know, when seeing patients on it, even the young students who are coming in through our medical school training, I'm amazed at how technologically savvy they are. You know, one of even our core principals here at our School of Medicine is teaching them ultrasound techniques, which was unheard of, you know, 15, 20 years ago when I went through medical school training, and their ability just to use these devices at the bedside just wows me. You know, I'm like, I don't know how to do that. You have to teach me as the teacher. And so, you know, it goes back to what Dean Sacco was saying. You know, one of these things is that, you know, our students, or the students that go through this eventually have this kind of dual degree track, are going to be able to come back to the engineering side and say, hey, this is what worked for us, but this is what could be a little bit better. And, you know, going back to the question on, you know, for us and, you know, what sets this program different, or why is it unique, is a fact. I think for us, it's just, you know, I use the word family a lot and how we describe our own medical school. And I was very happy to see how much both College of Engineering and the School of Medicine were just able to embrace each other for the goal of wanting to create this wonderful, unique program. And it just got a good sense of family all together here at our university system.
Yeah, thank you. And on the flip side, Brandon, Dean Sacco, I'm sure y'all are seeing, you know, just every other day we're seeing articles about just some really unique uses of now commercial engineering products, like, you know, people 3D printing, you know, medical devices, or coming up with solutions. And so would you happen to have any insights of, you know, obviously part of what will be built into the curriculum is showing today's technology, but you know, you're sharing a lot about questioning the systems and making sure that what we're building into the systems, we're giving folks the critical thinking skills to be able to analyze what that means. What does it look like to have, you know, physicians who are also engineering minded out in the field and kind of developing the technologies for the future?
Well, I think that's really what's going to be, I think, really advance the technology. But we also, you know, Brandon mentioned this before, we also have a lot of interest of people that want to be professional engineers, but they research they want in the medical field. And so they're getting together. The idea is to get them together. That's why we're integrating the medical students into their labs, so they begin to cross-pollinate and say, oh, you say that, but that's not the way it's done, and this is what we need to do. So the idea is to develop a close collaboration between people that their life goal is to develop medical technology with physicians that understand what they really need in that medical technology. And the secondary thing is, who knows? I mean, I could envision a lot of these students, as they get excited about what's going on, actually developing their own companies and a variety of other things to really make a difference in some ways, that they could do more than just seeing patients, because they can develop a device that sees millions of patients and that helps their healthcare very quickly. So that's kind of what my vision is, and what I'm excited about. And there's a lot of things coming down the pipe. We were involved with 3D printing, all sorts of things, masks and ventilators and transfer line ventilators. And I was surprised to find out they weren't automated, because you can automate these things, have them do, you know, an MU bag, 1 or 2 pulses, and then they can they can automate the whole thing. And then we ended up automating some systems at the hospital, so they didn't have to go into the COVID rooms. They could do it from their phone. Simple things for engineers, but things that we never were asked about or never thought about. When the physician said, well, gee, could you do this? And yeah, it took about a week. We got the whole thing done, and they were like very thankful. Just, sometimes the ultimate in sophistication is simplicity. And so just very simple, what to us were very simple things turned out to be, just amazing things for the hospital workers and attending physicians. And we were thinking, wow, we could really make a difference. And so from the engineering side, our students got excited. What can we do? Brandon was testing masks. We were surprised to find out that sometimes even medical personnel didn't know how to put their masks on, and the tests they were using were, the smell test, but that's not a great test. But the bottom line is it's not too hard to figure out other things that we can do and help them with. And so it was a very good consortium of people from the medical side, physicians, nurses, administrators from the health school, as well as people from engineering students. So it was exciting. I mean, Texas Tech kids, and I think Texas kids in general, maybe kids all over the world, really want to make a difference. This new generation, they want to help each other. And COVID provided us an opportunity to do that, and also see the power of working together as a family, as Felix said. It's so powerful, and it's fun. I mean, we were meeting every Wednesday night for 2 or 3 hours. We were Zooming, of course, because we were doing it, but we were making, we addressed almost every aspect of this problem, from transfer line ventilators to coming up with a way to sterilize masks, to figuring out, how often can you repeatedly use a mask, and what would you do with it, and how to avoid it, and what particle sizes they could really look at and what they can't look at. I mean, we documented it all sorts of different ways using standard engineering tools, but applied to things that we were never asked to look at before. And so it was a help for the physicians, but also a help for us. And, honestly, a lot of our students got just excited about doing this and volunteered all sorts of hours. And yeah, 3D printing, we sent all the 3D printing. We have hundreds of them, sent them all home to their houses. They were printing this stuff at home so they could stay safe, but at the same time meet the demand that we were seeing. And we not only did it for Lubbock, but we did it for all of West Texas, and got into New Mexico, and got into Mexico, and got into California. So we really, we touched the lives of a lot of people, but more importantly, we touched the lives of the future generation that's going to make a difference in this country and in the world. So pretty awesome stuff.
And all that's before the inaugural class. I can only imagine how great things are going to be for the region and for the state once y'all get this first few classes up and running.
Yeah, I think it's revolutionize. I think we're going to revolutionize the way medicine is taught, but also it's going to make a better world for us. And, I'm getting older, so I want all those physicians to be really good at what they do.
Exactly. I think we all do.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, we've caught up on questions here, but I do want to allow you all an opportunity to kind of address anybody out there who's interested, maybe on the cusp of saying, maybe I might want to apply to this program, maybe not. I'll give you the floor to address those out there who may be considering this program.
I'll jump in first. I would just say that if you are interested in this program, I think one of the assurances that we've got from our College of Engineering folks is the fact that if you don't have that that engineering I'm a chemical engineer, so chemical engineering background, but if you don't have that engineering background or that applied science STEM type of background, don't be afraid to participate or to apply to this program. We'll hopefully catch you up to speed with some of these things. We're excited about taking these applicants, and if you haven't checked that box off on the TMDSES application, Luis Perez, he handles a lot of our dual degree applications that come in through our system. So reach out to him, reach out to our School of Medicine inbox. We'll help you with that process as well.
Yeah, and I'd just like to say that I'd love all of you, everybody that's on the call to join the program. I know the medical school would have a heart attack if everybody showed up and wanted to be on this program, but we wouldn't in engineering, would be excited about it because we're really passionate about what we're going to try to do. And it's a convolution of both sciences. And of course, medicine has always been in a funny way through the ages at the leading edge of science. And so now engineering and digitization has sort of jumped ahead a little bit. And now we got to get that back in focus, that make sure that medical is always at the leading edge, because that's the human condition. And that's what we need to focus on. So we're excited about it. I'd love to see all of you, and feel free to contact me anytime. And if you have any other questions, you can always find me on the web somewhere. So I'll be there and you can ask any questions you want. Brandon knows the details. My job is just to make sure that we fulfill the expectations of this program and get it done in a timely fashion, and that we bring everybody up to speed that has a passion. Again, that word passion, that has a passion for this. We're going to make you successful.
Yeah, and my email is on the webpage also, and you're welcome to reach out to me. And also I'd throw in on top is, what I really want are people that want to be here beyond the passion. What I mean by that is, don't just think of this as a tick mark or the dean and I talked about this, earlier today and over the past few months as we created this program. We don't just want you to come in and just think, oh, I want the master's degree, but we really want you to make a difference and incorporate what you learn into your education way into the future. So, I would really ask if you do this to look 10 to 20 years into the future and think about what you're doing and how you can integrate that. And, back to when we were involved in the COVID response, man, if we had this program going then, it would have been fantastic, been able to make we made huge differences installing COVID rooms, but had we had the medical expertise, I think we could have done even bigger and better things.
Wonderful. Well, thank you all so much for taking the time to share some great information about this program. And to those of you out there who may be looking at applying this cycle or a future cycle, hopefully this helped you kind of think about what it looks like to have both the physician and engineering brain activated and what that might look like. And as Brandon said, 20 years from now. So on behalf of the Texas Tech University Health Sciences Center School of Medicine, Texas Tech University, the Texas Medical and Dental Schools Application Service, and the Texas Health Education Service, lots of Texases in there. We'd love to wish all of you all the best of luck. Keep at it. It's going to be worth it. And we are all here to help you along the journey. Thank you so much for watching.
Thank you.
Thank you.